I'm very proud of this book. Flapjack, you do a brilliant job of these. So this is the latest one. As with all my book covers, it's one of Johnny's paintings. It's an oil painting on the front, and they're beautiful. And hope you enjoy it. Now, hey, thanks for joining me. Over the next 45 minutes, I'm going to read some poems from the book, and I'm going to have a little chat, and I'll tell you a few things that we're doing. Thank you to everybody that's been connecting with me on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. And oh, it's not called Twitter now, it's called X, isn't it? I'm not calling it X, I'm calling it Twitter. I still call Snickers Marathon. Lots of things I call by opal fruits. Don't call them Starburst. Loads of things I still call Prince. I don't call him the artist formerly known as Prince. And Kanye West. I don't call him Ye. I call him a fuckwit is what I call him. But that's just me. Yeah, I'm going to read some poems, but yeah, thank you to everybody who on all the different ones. Threads, that's the other one I'm on. I think I've only got about 2 people following on me on that, but thank you anyway. Thanks for all the birthday wishes. It's been glorious, and I've had a nice birthday so far, so thank you. So this is I've got me cup. Look at that bit of subliminal advertising there with the book. I've got my cup of tea. I'm broadcasting, that's a funny word for it, isn't it? I'm broadcasting live from Fairlight, which is on the south coast. And this is my dining room. And I've had meat slice and beans for my tea. So there's a faint whiff of that in the air, I'm afraid. So this is called Not My Cup of Tea. Some of you might have heard me do this on BBC Radio 4, but enjoy. Not my cup of tea. So this is the first one from the book. As a connoisseur, I like a brew, but even at a push, robush in my mush won't do. A Sam, no thank you, ma'am. I'm happy as I am, goddamn. Darjeeling, not a char I find appealing, leaves me far from a nice warm feeling. Chamomile, don't make me smile. I'd run a mile before I drink that bile. Oolong, just tastes wrong. So does Lapsang Souchong. To save confusion, I'd add exclusion of any organic fruit infusion. Herbal tea, not for me. Ginseng, not my thing. Earl Grey, no way, Jose. Green decaf, not keen, too naff. Masala chai, I'd rather die. Salted caramel, fucking terrible. Now, obviously, I said bloody terrible on the radio, but it says fucking terrible in the book. Now, for me, it's English breakfast, a distinguished tea you want to make last, or if in an hurry, easily neck fast. Quickly done, never too tricky with a sticky bun or a chocky bicky. It's a daddy in the caddy. It's the pot that it's the spot. Snug in a mug or a bone china cup, chug on that drug, there's no finer sup. Sipping PG tips through my lips, I could even enjoy the apocalypse. It's the beverage for whatever age. Same with Tetley Old Yorkshire. Most of the rest are just plain torture. Co-op own brand, that'll be grand. So that's me playing with words. I do love to play words. It took about an hour to write that, and possibly the best hour of my life. Just me playing with words, having a laugh and a cup of tea. So we've got all sorts of different poems for you. I've got them all marked out. I've got a few pictures as well. Let's have a little look at a picture. Here we go. That's yeah, that's me having a cup of tea. I can move that there. That's it. Now this is Cuckmere Haven, which is one of my favourite places, and it's where I'd like my ashes to be scattered. Not tonight, you know, I've got a few more days left in me, but eventually my brother's ashes were scattered at Cuckmere Haven, Dave, and he's got a bench there, And it'd be lovely if I could be scattered and we could have a little chat. That would be nice. And I've written a poem that they could stick on the bench if there's room. So I'll read you that, called Cuckmere Haven. Sun stripes the Seven Sisters like a barcode. The sea and the sky are sketched with the same pen. Dandelions and buttercups lie scattered like coins loose on your dresser. A lighthouse serves little purpose during the day other than to wait, though I know somewhere on this misnamed earth there are always ships out at sea, still in the dark. It's a lovely, lovely place that. I went the other day and there was this, it's quite weird, isn't it? You know, there's this gate in the middle of that. What's that about? Luckily it was open, so I managed to get in. There's me and Johnny sat on Dave's bench. As you can see, I'm writing a poem, and Johnny's highly amused. So next poem. This is called Perfect Feminine, and I've written it in search of a perfect feminine. I've written this to my wife Angie. Let's get a little picture of Angie. There we go. Oh, I'm blocking her. I'll move that way. There we go. So this is it's about rhyming, and I've written about 1,000 poems. So I'm sort of very acutely aware of rhyming. And if a single syllable rhymes, you call that a masculine rhyme or a perfect masculine. So like love and dove, that would be a masculine rhyme, strangely enough. And a feminine rhyme is when two syllables rhyme, like salad and ballad, or frolic and bollock. So this is called In Search of the Perfect Feminine. My wife says nothing rhymes with orange, but before despair could befall her, I corrected Angela, or Ange, as I call her. It's a nice little poem in it, a lovely play and a lovely picture of Ange. So that was good. Let's have a look what's next. I say I've got, this is volume 3, there's volume 2. Oh, I best turn this off a second, dear. Going up, there we go. There's volume 2. It's another oil painting by Johnny, and there's volume 1, and they make a lovely collection on your dresser. Now they're actually obviously from these thinner books, which still nice, but not as don't look as executive, do they, as the others? But same words, to be honest with you. Right, so what's next? Sitting with Colin Orchard. Now you probably won't know Colin Orchard, but you'll know a little bit more about him by the time we've finished. Let's have a look. I've got a picture, if I can work this machine. And that's it. There we go. Here's a picture. So it's sitting with Colin Orchard at Stanmer Park. Now, Stanmer Park is a little park outside of Brighton. And I was sat there one day with Colin Orchard, and I wrote this poem. And it's sort of, I've tried to, I have a strain of my poetry where I'll sit somewhere or I'll have a little think, and I'll try to paint the picture of where I am and what's going through my head. And so this is one of those poems, sitting with Colin Orchard at Stanmer Park. The wind is sharpest in the shadows. There's enough blue to make a pair of jeans. We face a skyline of treetops, Lincoln green, offset with copper beach. A man wields a bit of plastic to help him throw his dog's ball further. Daisies decorate the grass like icing sugar on peppermint. A boy and girl punish a plastic globe while their mother carries a bag for life. Rain machines overhead roll south to reconnect with salt. A lightweight buggy stutters over open ground, a plastic bottle tucked in with its child. Sunlight is reaching us through a different mixture than it used to. Colin has a wooden bench with a fine metal plaque. Much loved husband and father. I can't think of 5 greater words to mark a man. We watch the industry of nature turn carbon dioxide to oxygen. A woman helps her husband move his wheelchair up the slope. Let me take this off. There we go. Right. So that's it's a nice little poem, I think. There. See me struggle with technology. Showing me age now, aren't I? 67. Who'd have thought? So this, a lot of people use, poets now, the young ones, they use phones to write their poetry rather than writing. I like writing with a pen. They use phones, and they use phones for everything. To be honest with you, now I am on the phone too much. So this morning, I said to Ange, I said it's a nuisance, isn't it? I said you sleep. I mean, that takes up a few hours, don't you? And then you get up, you go to the bathroom, go to the toilet, get yourself washed, dressed, have something to eat. And then I do Wordle in the morning. I bet a few of you do Wordle. So I do Wordle, and then I do Quordle. That's like 4 of them. And then I do Quordle sequence. That's like 4 of them, but you have to do them in sequence. And then I do Octordle. That's 8 of them. And then I do Octordle sequence, where you have to do them in order. And then I do Blossom, which is like a word game where it's like a flower and you have letters on each of the petals and you have to make words. 7 letters is, you know, what you should be aiming for. And then of course I'm going to talk to Ange and Johnny. And I said to Ange, it's you know, it's too much, isn't it? I mean, when do I get time for myself? I said, something's got to go. And Ange said, could it be me? Now, Joyce Kilmer wrote a poem called, which is, I think that I shall never see a poem lovely as a tree. And so I've written an updated version of that for the phone. There we go. So after Joyce Kilmer, this is, I think that I shall never see an emoji lovely as a tree. Sad face, WTF. That's a pretty good one, isn't it? Right, let's have a look at the next step. Who was Mr. Chambers, I hear you ask? So that's one of the poems. Now, I'm going to do about 20 poems tonight. There's over 300 in the book, so you've still got 280 to be discovering for yourself. So this is who was Mr. Chambers. When I was a young boy, he would deliver clothes to our house that we'd buy on the Never Never, as it was called then. He would always say that I was handsome, even though I had a broken front tooth at the time. He was the only one who ever said that, apart from my mum. When I was 11, Mum died, leaving 5 kids, hardship and chaos, and a black hole at the centre of the universe. He took the sole photo we owned of her, and he had it framed. The simple act of kindness saved the image of her from fading and getting lost. That's who Mr. Chambers was. I can show you the photo that he saved, which is rather nice. There we go. very young, my mum, when she died. This is her in her about 20, but she was 39 when she died. To be honest with you, 67 is too young. You mind? I'm 39. Ah, that seems to work. Here we go. Right. Bang. None. So, next poem. The Honey Bucket. Let's have a look at that. So as you see, I try to write all sorts of different poems, and you know, I sort of chronicle, if you like, my external and internal landscape, and just things that occur to me at times. And so I read a quote when I was researching one of the radio shows, and it was by a French philosopher called Michel de Montaigne, and he said, "Kings and philosophers shit, and so do ladies." Not his best chat-up line, to be honest with you. But I was thinking, I like the idea of, you know, that we're all the same, and we're all essentially animals. They do say to, you know, to make you not afraid of your audience, you should think of them in the nude. I like to think of them with cardigans on. That's the way I work. So this is called the Honey Bucket. Here we go. Even those with rounded vowels, cannot confound compounded bowels. Let your food unfurl, celebrate the morning curl. Every sovereign born to rule, through their ass did pass a stool, dropped off the kids at the swimming pool. Every potentate upon a po did defecate, to cook up some sausages, negotiate release of hostages. Each of the mighty czars unloaded a batch of fine cigars, let the toilet humming, engaged in scatterbombing. Even the king must feed the vultures, make some underwater sculptures, or in the woods, like the proverbial bear, download some software. No top knob's too snob to bob. Every president without fail is obliged to make a tale. Still, the image that most lingers is Putin making gorilla fingers. Dear. So I enjoyed doing the rhymes for that. That was fun. It's a little image of Putin for you. I've been looking at, when I put these on Facebook, I try to find sort of nice images to go along with the words, keep you amused. Now, what's the next one? That was Honey Bucket, Slow Song of the Baby Sloth. Now, I was thinking about how there's always somebody worse off than you. And then I was listening to Radio 4, and there was a program on Radio 4 about sloths. And I saw this little guy. Look at this lovely little guy. And their life seemed so hard that I thought I'd write a poem called Slow Song of the Baby Sloth. I will lick my mother's lips to learn what to eat. I will digest my food at the slowest rate, usually more leaf than meat, as much as 2/3 of my body weight. I will watch the world upside down. My coat will be adorned in algae. I have poor sight and hear little sound. My defense is to be part of the greenery. I'm helpless on the ground, but I can swim 40 minutes underwater. I can hold my breath. I'm the only animal named after a sin. I can remain hanging even after death. We sloths nourish moths that exist solely on us, biting and blood-sucking flies. Lice and ticks and mites and bugs When we do move, it's mostly at night. For 5 months, I will stay with my mother. I will die if I fall from this canopy. I can't ever expect help from another. Not even a parent will heed my plea. I will urinate and defecate about every 7 days. I'll go to the same spot each time, although digging a hole in the earth and covering it away, I'm vulnerable to predators whilst doing so. By burying my excreta near the trunk of my tree, I'll nourish this cercopia, and it'll in turn nourish me. Moths which live in my fur will leave and lay their eggs in my feces. Larvae will hatch, and on these feces they'll feed. Mature, they'll fly up, and on my flesh proceed. For most of my life, I'll lie motionless in fear. This way I may live past my 20th year. Worth thinking about if you're thinking, you're a bit hard done to. It could be a sloth. So let's have a look. Haiku. Now, I didn't used to write haikus because I used to think that they were, something or nothing. When people write haikus, they don't write them properly, to be honest with you. Everybody knows that they're 3 lines and that they're 5 syllables, 7 syllables, and 5 syllables. But what people miss is the fact they're supposed to be about nature and that they are supposed to have a twist at the end. The last line is supposed to have a little bit of a twist. So that's how to do it properly. So this is the first haiku I ever wrote. Haiku 575. There's more to haiku than counting syllables, but not so with this one. Now, this next one's called The Beauty Within Shadow. And I wrote this during COVID. So some of these poems were written during COVID because I've written basically this third book. It is the last 3 years, apart from this last one, which the poems are in the Fire Hills. It seemed to me we were living very much in the shadow of COVID. And my son did a painting, here we go, in black and white. And I thought it was quite beautiful, painting in black and white. So I called the book The Beauty Within Shadow, and this is the poem inspired by the painting. There is often light in the darkness once your eyes adjust. And when your sight fails, it's said other senses heighten. Even with your lids tight, the mind can shine like the midday sun. And in the blackest void, who knows what awaits? Maybe another sense rises to help us become light ourselves, or returns us to a time when all was in balance, awaiting ignition. Dark days, weren't they, COVID? I'm glad they've gone. Let's hope they don't come back. There's a painting that I particularly love. Of, don't know whether you'll see much of it. I don't think you will. No, that's not it. Of Pandora opening the box. The idea is that all the troubles of the world escaped from the box, and hope was left inside. And in some telling of that story, it's a jar, and hope is called Elpis. This is a poem called Elpis Within the Jar. My car throbs like an old tractor or a faulty spin dryer. 3-point turns inscribe the snow as spirograph. Rain dilutes winter in a flavourless slushy. One of these poems will be my last, although no more significant than any other. Somewhere along the way, someone seems to have lost something. My wife hates these lines and tells me darkness is upsetting in those you love. The sun and the clouds conspire to cast shapes on the sea. One of these breaths would be my last, although no more significant than any other. If I stand back from the screen, I fear the next line, a skin tent held by brittle bones. I long to find a new truth that I can tell myself. I cling to the thought that Elpis within the jar is still Elpis. I was very lucky to move up to Manchester at the time I did. It had never occurred to me before. I was living in Chesterfield, and a girl I was going out with moved to Manchester, and I moved, and it changed my life. I've never been confident, to be honest with you, and there seemed to be a great sense of self in Manchester, and it emboldened me. And I met people like Lem Sissay and Steve Coogan and Carolina Hearn and lots of other people, Dave Gorman, and there was a sort of atmosphere of optimism and that we can do things. And this is a poem I wrote called Centered, which evokes that feeling. Too many people have hidden away, as though their pain only deserves shadow, as though their mother and father never dreamt of light, as though their ancestors hadn't loved and died in darkness, as though generation after generation hadn't wept the clouds dry, as though life itself should cower. Not today. This is where I make a stand. Today, I create the universe. The sun can revolve around me. I should be very grateful to all the people I've met along the way. It's a great community spirit I find amongst the poetry community and the creative community generally. As I get older, I do get a bit cantankerous, and I thought I'd celebrate that. And I've written a poem. I love doing these poems where I mess around with rhymes, and I just find it fun. And what I try to do is I try to find rhymes that you wouldn't naturally expect or you haven't heard before, and I try to make it efficient, so you use the least amount of words and you get the most amount of rhyme in the poem, while still actually saying something hopefully worth saying. So enjoy these rhymes. So this is called Hot Under the Choleric. It's a nice little pun, hot under the choleric. It's like an intolerant. I'm prone to exasperation, irritation and indignation, resentment, discontentment and overall vexation. So good start. I'm at the age to engage rage from a blank page, straight to irate with no middle stage. You need no clairvoyance to spot my annoyance, my lack of buoyancy as a smack of flamboyancy. I've ill humour like a tumour at the merest rumour of a minor bloomer. Any excuse for tetchy, no matter how sketchy, I can make it stretchy. I've a zestiness for testiness. I can be miffy in a jiffy, my mood sort of iffy. I don't find ireful, desireful, I find it desireful. I'm snappy, crappy, not an happy chappy. I'm quickly fractious, prickly as a cactus. I get narky, sparky, and all that malarkey. I get snuffy, uffy, the opposite of fluffy. I get shirty, downright dirty, typing on the QWERTY. Ratty, combatty, not very diplomaty, chippy, snippy, definitely not hippie, short-fused, abused, not royally amused. I do a passable, irascible, grumpy, umpy, down your throat kind of jumpy, waspish, orkish, spicy as a sauce dish, spiky as a swordfish, stroppy, choppy, my moods go flippy floppy, rancorous, cantankerous, you're hardly going to thank us. Just about got away with that one. My MO condensed, I'm instantly incensed, disagreeable for the foreseeable. So let's have a little look what else we got left. So I'm touring this year. I'm touring with myself to start off with, and then Nigel Planer, who's also got a book out. And you'll remember him from the young ones, although obviously we're not that young these days. He's great. He's just brought out a science fiction book as well as a book about his book of poems is with Flapjack, so you can buy it from Flapjack. It's called Making Other Plans. Now I thought I asked him, I said, is that from Making Plans with Nigel? Which, you know, would make sense. And he said, no, it's from a quote by John Lennon, where he said, life is what happens to you whilst you're making other plans. So anyway, treat yourself to that. And then I'm touring with Brian Bilston, who's a fantastic bloke, internet sensation, a very strange thing to say, internet sensation. And he's such a lovely, decent, happy chap, and writes great poems. So I'm looking forward to touring with him next spring. Now, where are we? I'm hoping I won't be hot under the collar, as it were. Right, low tide. Let's have a look at that. So this one is about being around Cuckmere Haven, where I showed you the picture before, and you've got the White Cliffs, and we go down there, and Johnny goes in the rock pools, and you know, Angie goes out for a swim sometimes, and I just sit and write a poem or just enjoy the seaside. And I was there one day, and the tide had gone out, so low tide. The tide had gone out, and you could see the white extended. The White Cliffs were underneath. So I wrote this poem called Low Tide. The floor of the English Channel is exposed. My loved ones paddle barefoot in puddles. All around, toddlers and gulls find a new balance. Further out to sea, teenagers dare themselves another step. Sailing ships and even speedboats seem in no hurry today. There's a slight haze, like spilt flour on a blue tabletop. A man in shorts loses himself with a net and bucket. Behind me, white cliffs stretch out open arms. Underfoot, the chalk continues south, crowned by seaweed. The myth of our island nation is revealed. We are, as ever, joined to each continent by land. The water just sits on the top, reflecting sunlight all the way to the horizon. So, let's have a look. Football season started. I've been enjoying that. I enjoy football. I used to enjoy playing. Sort of like dancing, really. Playing, you can enjoy your body and move. Didn't matter whether you won or lost. I remember we used to play as a kid. So I'd play on the street, and we'd have a parked car either side of the road. Would be the goalposts, and you know, there'd be like 100 aside. And you just keep playing until the ball burst or till your mum, you know, shouted you in for your tea. And if you know, if too many from one side were shouted in for the tea, you'd change sides, wouldn't you? And no matter, even if it were like 150 on one side and you know, and 2 goals on the other side, whenever you got to the end, you just say next goal wins. So it was always fun. I've written this poem called Endgame because I was feeling that my footballing days were numbered. So this is Endgame. Demoting a passion to a hobby, the parameters of my dreams, it seems, are simply not viable. I find I'm resigned to amateur status with wish fulfillment, unreliable. Now in my 60s, I finally bow to reason. I can certainly rule out playing for England at the end of next season. This is a little poem called Poolside, and before COVID, we used to go to Portugal quite a bit, and Johnny he loves going in the pool, and when he's as most of you all know, my son's autistic, and he doesn't speak a lot, but when he's happy, he'll shout out some random words. For a while, those random words were Cliffy, Stuart Corfe, 85 Carolines. Stuart Corfe is a bloke who used to do head massage in Lewis, and I hope he likes being immortalised in my poem. Poolside. Cliffy, Stuart Corfe, 85 Carolines. These are things Johnny calls out when he can't contain his joy. This morning, there is nothing between us and the sunlight born 8 minutes ago. A single jet makes a dash across the naked sky. One feathered soloist is giving it Percy Edwards. My son counts the liquid lengths to qualify for an ice lolly. On his back, he's as noisy as a Mississippi steamboat. He grunts like a tennis player on each stroke. Frozen pineapple is gold medal enough. My skin tone moves towards these orange shorts. Cliffy, Stuart Corfe, 85 Carolines. So these poems were written at various parts of the year, some in summer, some in winter. This is a poem that was written in winter. Sometimes when I'm writing, I'm trying to look at internal landscapes as well as external landscapes. And, you know, obviously we use images and metaphor all the time. This is called Let Us Not Bury Those Merely Sleeping. Chilled by a pale blue light, it's easy to believe that spring will never come, that frost has killed the seeds, that we're lost in the void, forsaken. But even in the darkest night, Earth spins on its axis, and even in the coldest hour, it moves along its orbit until we tilt towards the sun once more. Let's have a look. It's picturing me playing football. There's a great photographer called Richard Davis who takes a lot of photos of me, and that's an early one. I do love that. I love being caught in mid-air. What's the next poem? We're getting towards the end, you'll be glad to know. Ladders of Divine Ascent. So I love nature, And sometimes with nature, you're taken somewhere else, aren't you? You're transported. Here we go. That's the one. And I'd see what you might call divinity in nature. There's something quite beautiful. I'd love to be religious. I'd love there to be in heaven. It'd be nice to see my mum and my dad and our Dave, and you know, I did try and read the Bible, but it asks more questions, you know, than it answers. And because I'm doing a new radio show, I had a look at the beginning of the King James Bible the other day. So I've got it here. So this is it. It says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, and God said, let there be light. Well, who's he talking to? Nobody there. He's not created anybody yet. Weird, isn't it? I mean, if it's dark, I talk to myself, to be honest with you. I'd say, you know, that me, and that's I'd be saying, I can't see a fucking thing. It's probably what I'd say, which would be a good start to the Bible. That would be a dramatic. I'd get you interested. I can't see a fucking. I mean, not going to bump into anything because you haven't created anything, have you? It's a void. But you know, a good start anyway. So, looking at nature. The thing that I found inspired me, and I think if I move out of the way a little bit, here we go, you'll see it here, is these what they call Jacob's ladders, where the light comes down from the clouds, and I wanted to try and capture that. So this is called Ladders of Divine Ascent. Light tilts from the clouds like an alien abduction. Snow threatens as smoke rises from neighbouring roofs. On this ordinary morning, set mostly in monotone, spotlit, the sea shines silver, the winter sky stretches wider, whilst earthbound, I concede to wonder and dream of angels. See how we're doing for time. Yeah, I think maybe just two more, and then we'll finish. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you'll, you know, come and see me when I'm touring with whoever I'm touring with, and I hope you'll keep following me on the social media and interact. That will be nice, and also it'd be nice to you to buy a book. That would be lovely, wouldn't it? I mean, I've written these things so that, you know, somebody will buy them at some point in time. That's the gist of it. Now, two last poems. Let's see what we're going to have. We shall have Baby in the Womb Dreams of I, 135. Now we'll have Fop. So this is a little poem about aging. Fop is a fucking old person. That's what it's short for. Fop, all ready to drop this one. I'm sure there's a few people of a similar generation to me. Here we go. Today I'm retro, not dead yet though. Old school, easy to ridicule. An old codger, a coffin dodger, a walking fossil. My age colossal. Over the hill, landfill, but here still, and hard to kill. A has-been, but evergreen. Retired, but not expired. Decrepit, yet ready, not ready to quit. A crone, but not quite prone. Vintage, almost out of printage. Infirm, but going full term. Heading for the sunset, not done with the fun yet. Time tested, but not yet bested. Experience rich, not dead in a ditch. Feeling my age, not leaving the stage, on a slippery slope, but not without hope. And so it comes to the last poem of this. Let's back up to bring us back to reality. There we go. So this is called Lodestar. 245 Lodestar. So I'm very proud of this book. There's lots of good poems in here. This poem, I did get a request. Somebody said, "Will you end?" That was it, really. Basically, will you end? No, they said, "Will you end with this poem?" And it's Eva, who hopefully is still here and clocking on to me from the continent. Thank you, Eva. So this is called Lodestar. Now, this was Lodestar is another name for the North Star, and as is Polaris, a name for the North Star. And I was when I do the radio shows, I sort of pick a theme and then I investigate it. And I think it was a theme of the universe. And I was looking at various things that we might know about in the universe. And I came across the North Star. And so I investigated. Now, the thing is, we use it as the North Star now, but back in 1400s, it wasn't used as the North Star. And probably in a few hundred years' time, it won't. Because we think, I mean, everything's moving. Basically, you and I at this moment are moving around the Earth. The Earth's spinning, so it's about 70 miles an hour. The Earth spins at in this at the poles. It's. I mean, you're basically just going around in one circle 24 hours. So that's very slow, isn't it? And at the equator, you're going around faster. But where we are in England, it's about 70 miles an hour. Speed limit for England, and then the Earth goes around the sun. Now that's a lot faster, and it goes a lot further. And then our sun goes round the Milky Way, and then the Milky Way goes round the other. So everything's moving, and the pole star is no different. Everything's, but there's not a fixed point, but we like to think there's a fixed point. I've enjoyed doing this today, so I hope you've enjoyed it. I know it's going to go up on YouTube or something like that. Be too long for TikTok, won't it? So it'll probably go up on YouTube, and you know, so if I'll put a link up if anybody's coming halfway through, or well, they won't know if they've gone halfway through, will they? Because I'm talking now. Thanks again to Flapjack for hosting this and for publishing my books. And they do a brilliant job and publish some great stuff. So go onto their site and have a look who else they do. They've got a brilliant book by Ovis Presley. If ever you remember Ovis Presley, who sadly died young. And he did a great book called Poetic Off License. And if you haven't got one of those, you should have. So here we go, Lodestar. And I'll finish with this, and thanks ever so much, and see you again. Polaris is only true north when constellations align. It has shone brighter and not so bright, and despite Shakespeare, was never constant. Despite Spencer, was never steadfast. Earlier generations were stared by other stars. Future souls will seek guidance elsewhere. There is no fixed point in the heavens. It's only that a human life is so short and human longing so vast.